Welcome back, everyone, to episode 2 of the Heavy Hockey Podcast. We got Lotzi, Kevin McCurdy, and Dash in the Park. And I'm your host tonight, Patrick, the Oilers fanatic. And yeah, 2 straight games. The Edmonton Oilers extremely lucky. They get a fluke goal from Jake Wallman last game to force overtime for Jack Roslovic to get the overtime winner. And tonight, it's an offside call in the final minute that allows the Oilers to go to overtime. And once again, Jack Roslovic gets the overtime winner. Gentlemen, your initial thoughts on tonight's big 2-1 victory over the Philadelphia Flyers?
You got to be lucky to be good, don't you? Good to be lucky, lucky to be good. That old saying.
This was a bigger heist than the one in the Louvre.
I don't know about that.
The one Monday felt bigger.
Yeah, I guess.
But we did get pretty lucky with that call at the end. I mean, it was definitely offside. But yeah, going down 2-1 with 20 seconds left was not a good feeling. And it was a great feeling to have that one reversed.
Kind of feel like we stole points 2 games in a row, but at the same time, like 42 minutes is not enough, but it's as close to 60 as this team gets.
And I feel like they should have had this put away in the first 2 periods. Like the shots were 24-8 at one point for the Oilers, and the fans were booing the Flyers because they couldn't touch the puck, right? And we could only get 1 goal in that stretch.
I think it was 24-6 at one point in time.
It might have been.
Yeah.
I think it was extremely lopsided.
Yeah, like if the Oilers didn't win this one, we'd be having a very frustrated pod right now. I mean, the domination for the vast majority of that hockey game and for it to be tied 1-1. Yeah, I was going to have some different words for it tonight. And I was at the Columbus game the other night, and after 40 minutes, I know I certainly wasn't alone. Everyone here, I think, was just absolutely livid. I was ready to rip into the Oilers in my usual post-game show that I do on my channel, The Fanatic Rundown, but it turned into a much happier post-game show, and I think we can safely say it's a much happier one tonight. Who would you guys say would be your standout players tonight? I know we've got the usual 3 stars, but is there someone aside from the usual guys that really stood out to you tonight? Let's start with you, Kev.
Savoie, no question. 2 assists, including 1 on the game-winning goal. In my view, all over the ice, being where he's supposed to be, hard on the forecheck, making good plays through the neutral zone. Didn't look out of place in the top 6 even a little bit, in my view, and I hope that they keep him there. That's definitely my standout.
We've got Mark Spector in the chat. He just had... Oh, no, never mind. We don't. What do you think, Dash? Who's your guy tonight?
I think you should give the listeners a reference on that one, maybe.
Kev,
come on, guys. I think we should keep it civil here, boys. Let's move on.
Not too personal of a reference. Just the fact that Spector may or may not have disagreed with the decision to put Savoie on the top line tonight, and I think
the answer can be found on Kevin McCurdy's X feed if you're looking for the answers.
There you go. Give him a follow at Kevin McCurdy.
Yeah,
great job on great job on the lowdown with Low Tide and Alan Mitchell today again, there, buddy. Nice. It's Savoie. Of course, it's Savoie. 1B or honorable mention to Roslovic. I think there was a lot of solid to be said about his game and positives there. I give the edge to Savoie because he kills penalties, and outside of that, it's a pretty easy answer. You said outside of the regulars, so yeah. Let's see.
Hard to disagree. Savvy was my guy too, but for the sake of the show and presenting some different ideas here, I'm going to go Stuart Skinner. And I remember one big save he made in the first period. He got his leg out, had to extend the left, or it was his right leg, but extended the pad out, made a big save. And he made a couple of difficult saves in the third period as well to keep the Oilers in it when they should have been ahead by 1.5 miles. It's like if they would have lost tonight, I would have been saying this game was about run support rather than bad goaltending, because Skinner didn't have to make a lot of saves, but he made some important saves and some difficult saves. So I'll go Skinner tonight.
Evolving hockey. Evolving
Kev.
Hockey has him at a goal and a half saved above expected, which is actually surprising to me. So I think that's worth pointing out.
Yeah, 100%. I like that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Skinner was my guy too, especially with the low shot count through 2 periods, just trying to stay fresh, trying to stay in the hockey game. I think Stuart Skinner, for a guy that's been struggling a lot lately, he looked really good tonight, and he should be applauded on a night where we're usually trying to rip into the guy. When he does put in a solid performance, it should definitely be noticed there. So yeah, he was definitely my guy as a standout tonight for sure. Any other big notes from the game you guys wanted to cover there before we move on?
Just pointing to the lack of finish on this team right now, right?
Yeah.
1 goal, and they were dominating. It was Harlem Globetrotters versus Washington Generals out there for a little while. We couldn't finish or get many high danger chances. So that it's coming, but there's still some work that we need to do to start getting to the middle more and start getting some high quality chances.
I think Knobloch probably deserves a little bit of credit here in this one. He's been taking a lot of heat lately. Might take more of this podcast. I've got my fair share of criticisms to share. There's no doubt about it. But ultimately, you decided to put Savoy out in the overtime, and I think that was brilliant.
Any other thoughts there, Kev?
Not really. Yeah, actually, let's do this. These guys need to make a pass. Like, I don't think I saw more than I don't know, a couple dozen completed passes all night, or at least that's what it felt like. Like, we're talking about missing somebody that's 6 feet away from you. Like, unless this team picked up a whole bunch of Ryan O'Reillys all of a sudden, I just don't see how that's good for moving the puck in the right direction ever. And it's not even the 6-foot passes. They're making a ton of these like 100+ foot stretch passes into the neutral zone, and the failure rate on them just seems to be extremely high. So why can't we shorten the distance, make it a little bit easier on our guys, and then also actually put a little bit more focus on making it clean and crisp and tape to tape?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just finding, as Lotzi pointed out there, finding ways to finish. I mean, for the domination in this hockey game, and give Dan Vladar some credit for sure. He played a strong hockey game, but this team with the offensive weapons that it has should not be struggling to get 2 goals in a hockey game against the Philadelphia Flyers. They got to be finding a way to get 3 or 4 off of the domination they had. So definitely something to work on there going forward.
Speaking of Vladar, if Mike Smith was in net, how long would it have taken him to skate to the red line there?
3 seconds.
as fast as Smith could go.
They've been picking up,
leaning on his stick that's over top of the red line, waiting.
No, his stick and glove would already be on the ice, man. It wouldn't. You'd just be sitting there waiting like an NPC player character, just fists all night long, right? Like,
Stu should have come and beat his ass.
No, that was. I don't understand. I'm not real surprised that Vladar was a little bit pissy by that point.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Let's be honest.
It's justified.
Somebody landed on his wrist. Frederick ran him over in the crease. It might have been Frederick both. No, it was Lazar the first time. So he'd been run into a couple times. I don't know what Janmark said to him, but it was clearly something that got under his lid, and he was already a little upset. So, I can't fault Vladar for being pissed off about it. Just some of the officiating tonight was just wild, both directions. Like, I don't know what was being watched and what the standard was, but there wasn't much of one either way.
Man, I don't know if the 3 stars were in-house, but I got stars of the game up here as Roslovic, Vladar, and Michkov. What game are they watching? Anyway, sorry.
The one call that really got me was that Emberson hold. It really looked like, I think it was Michkov that had a hold of his arm, or was it Konechny? It might have. It was
Konechny, yeah, and he was playing greasy, grabby hockey all night long. Right?
Let me throw my surprised face on.
Yeah. No, I thought that call was bad, but the rest of it was.
The Oilers could use themselves some Konechny.
Yep. Yeah, they sure could. Or, Matthew Olivier. Just saying.
doesn't even need to be that extreme. How about face-offs tonight? Like, what did the Oilers win? 32 of the first 33 face-offs or something. It was ridiculous.
Was it that high?
Oh man, I don't remember them losing a face-off. I'll go maybe look.
67 and 67.3% on the face-off tonight.
Oh, that seems inaccurate. I don't know. Let me go by period or something.
That's pretty. That's tilted, man. That is significantly tilted.
It was like I think at one point in time it had to have been like 25-5 or something like that. Like it was ridiculous.
Lazar went 75%. Leon went 100%, 4-0. Even Noah Philp went 6-1, 86%. So
how did Matson?
That is a great question, actually, because I really like the fact.
Many, would you?
Yeah, he jumped in after. He was jumping in instead of McDavid on the.
Well,
that's what I wanted to point out.
Nuge would have been the cover for that normally, right? And that's really who Savoy's in for, I think. He was 2-2, 50%.
There you go.
And he won a big one too, I think, at one point.
Yeah. No, I was just noticing that tonight, so I was kind of curious how he ended up finishing up there with getting that. It's not often you're skating alongside Connor McDavid and you're pretty much a rookie there. You get to take faceoffs on that line, so that's pretty cool for him. Alrighty. If we got anything else, let's switch on over here to the rundown and go over all the latest. So it should be a potentially very exciting weekend here for the Edmonton Oilers. They are supposed to finally get back Zach Hyman, who is originally due back on November 1st. That return date kept getting pushed back. He's reportedly a possibility for tomorrow, but 100% official, according to head coach Chris Knobloch, that he will be back in against the Carolina Hurricanes, if nothing else, if not tomorrow, on Saturday. So that's the biggest news coming here in Oil Country. We got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins out for at least a week. Mark Spector reported today that Nuge isn't along on the trip just yet, so that's kind of interesting. I don't know if he's joining the team later in the trip or he's just skipping the road trip altogether, but we'll have to follow the progress there on Nuge. He's out with currently an undisclosed injury. They didn't reveal anything on that just yet. And, well, before tonight, there was a lot of goalie discussion. UC Saros' name out there, UPL in Buffalo. I'm hearing Devin Levi's name in Buffalo as well. So a few possible options there. The Oilers obviously don't have a lot of cap space right now. So bringing in a goaltender who makes any significant amount of money is going to be quite the challenge for this team. Obviously, a lot of people looking to next summer when the Oilers will have a lot more cap space to play with. But for right now, a cheap option would have to be the way the Edmonton Oilers go. Another name that was going on since the summer here in the rumor mill is Sebastian Cossa with the Detroit Red Wings. With Devin Levi, Sebastian Cossa, the Oilers aren't looking at a clear upgrade there. Those guys are both maybes, so we'll see what happens. In both those circumstances, though, they could probably hang on to Stuart Skinner and have one of those guys be the other goaltender. So out of those names, Zach Hyman, what are you guys thinking about all the latest there? Start with you, Lotzi.
Yeah, the injury return date for Hyman just keeps getting pushed down the road a little bit, just like every other injury announcement this year so far. But Hyman coming back is going to be a huge addition, even if his wrist is still not 1,000% healed. Like his shot's not going to be the same as it was before, but just his tenacity on the forecheck and his hockey IQ and chemistry with McDavid, I think that'll be real helpful, and it'll push at least one guy down the lineup a little bit further and add some depth. So I think that'll be really good. Who's going down? My first thought was Ike Howard. They're using him on the power play instead of Nuge right now, which is making me think twice about that. Noah Philp hasn't exactly been lighting it up recently, and we were just kind of talking about this in the Heavy Hockey group chat, that now that he's played a bunch of games and hasn't done a whole lot, teams probably aren't going to be lining up to putting claims on him. So that's a possibility. Odds of us losing him are lower now than they were at the start of the year. I mean, you could always waive Lazar. Like there's lots of different options right now. But Philp was my guy in a piece that I wrote about a month ago, and I'm going to stick with that. Philp will go down rather than Howard. There's my hot take for the day. Goaltending, I'm going to throw another name in the mix, and that is Arvid Soderblom from the Blackhawks, a guy I wrote about in the summer as a potential option. The Hawks have 3 goaltenders in their system right now. Laurent Brossoit has an injury, so he's on IR. Soderblom's played a handful of games, had some pretty good numbers to start the season, and Peter Aubry thinks really highly of him. So there's a chance that that influence could pull Soderblom our way if a goaltender needs to shake loose from Chicago. He's at 2.7 million, I believe. Like it's a similar cap hit to Skinner, but there's definitely things that they can do to make that happen.
Yeah, David Tomaszek's now been a scratch the last 2 games as well, and he's someone that doesn't require waivers as well to go down. So he's probably a prime candidate to get down to Bakersfield as well to make some space here. Dash, what are your thoughts?
Specifically to Hyman coming back, or
Hyman and goaltending.
I mean, ultimately, I don't know. You guys have heard me say what I need to say about goaltending. I'm not going to keep it up. Hyman, yeah, I mean, the Oilers lack anybody that seemed to be able to drag him into a fight this year. I kind of mentioned it last week, with the exit of the Connor Browns and the Canes and the Holloways and the guys that used to be able to, seemingly Corey Perry, especially seemingly, make these regular season games worth something, right? Wasn't it this point in time last year that we had 7 fights and games were 7-0 in games where we had fights at this point, and now we're 1-0 in games where we had fights this year. Like, make something out of these regular season games. And, I heard Kevin say it on the lowdown today, and I completely agree. Like, these aren't yesteryear's Oilers. They're not. Anybody that keeps saying they've done this before, they've come back before, get over it. Like, maybe they will, but not because they've done it before. Right? Like, I just don't think that's relative. So Hyman's drastically important. I think his positive attitude, I think his smile on the bench, I think his exuberance, I think his, way to be calm under pressure. I think his physical nature. We're not going to see Zach Hyman that had 11 hits a game that broke records in the playoffs. We're going to get regular season Zach Hyman, which is a hell of a guy to dig pucks out and be a dog on a bone. And it's pretty much exactly what this team needs right now.
Work ethic. That's the thing about Zach Hyman. It's 127% go all the time with that guy. And that's one of the reasons it's infectious for the team. And that's one of the reasons that he is so effective at what he does, right? Like, there is no killing the dog in that boy.
That's right.
Any other thoughts there, Kev, on the goaltending? And
I feel like they had a chance to address this when there was a couple fairly high-profile guys on waivers a few weeks ago. Like if you look at DiPietro out of Boston, or you look at Nico Dawes out of New Jersey, I think like both of those guys are absolutely lighting it up in the AHL, and they both passed through waivers. They could have been had for nothing. It just meant that the Oilers would have had to have been decisive about Calvin Pickard's future anyways. And I understand why they don't. I understand that he is a big piece of that room, but we also, we're talking about rough starts and getting off the season on the right foot and not sometimes making decisions that are necessary. And it's not that Pickard is bad or that he's not, the biggest hearted guy in that room. He absolutely is, but it comes at a cost. And I think we need someone to push Skinner hard and push for that 1A position. And I think that will make them both better off for it. And I'm not sure that Pickard at this point, at least this season, has been that guy. As far as the rest of the lineup decisions, I think that we're looking at probably Tomaszek going down. It's been pretty clear that they're positioning for that. I wouldn't honestly, I couldn't care one way or the other what they do with Curtis Lazar. I don't think he brings anything particularly unique to this team. He does win faceoffs, so he could be that 4C in a pinch. But if they put Nugent Hopkins at 3C, where I think he should be, that puts Rico in the 4C position, and you build out from that as your center. I won't be surprised if Howard goes down too. I mean, he's looking good in a lot of ways, but his game is missing a lot of polish still. That's what I got.
Alrighty. Well, let's move on to our next segment here, game stories. Well, before the last two games anyway, all the talk in oil country was the Oilers' struggles. And as we've talked about already tonight, the struggle to score still remains with this team, but some compete. What's been wrong with this team coming into tonight, guys? Like, what's the biggest standouts to you? Let's start with you, Kev.
Overall playmaking, I think, is one of the biggest things. Like, we've talked about goaltending, we've talked about defensive gaffes and whatnot, and we've even talked about reserved play, in so much as people not being willing to make risky ozone plays for the sake of, if they screw up, it ending up going the other direction and ending up in the back of the net. So those are things we talked about. But I think just the playmaking, just clean it up a little bit more, get open, make that pass. I know that hockey right now, especially, is a really tight sport. There's no room to move, but they need to find that space, and they also need to make sure that when they are making space for themselves, that they are making clean passes and clean plays. I think it's killing them on the breakouts. We've reverted to this to the pre-Paul Coffey era. We're making 100-foot stretch passes to try and dumping it in and then chasing it. That's a hard game to play for an 82 game season plus the playoffs. You're going to start getting bodies that are getting injuries. You're going to start they need to find a way to utilize the middle of the ice and to get in cleanly and then make plays to get inside and then actually score effectively. And I think that is the biggest thing, is that just the center of the ice has not been used in the neutral zone or the offensive zone anywhere near what it needs to be.
Quoting Eminem again.
No, sure.
You brought up his name there. I just was kind of curious. Paul Coffey. I know there's been some discussion in the group chat there. Do you guys think there's anything to Paul Coffey possibly coming back to the bench? Is there any real big benefit to that, or is that just somebody coming up with some kind of pipe dream or something there?
I don't think it'll happen. I don't also think it would be the worst decision they could ever make. The defense has really struggled putting it together this year, especially people like Kulak and Nurse, who I think were really heavily encouraged by Coffey to, make plays, and there was some accountability there. I think all of them, to an extent, have struggled in that since Coffey's been off the bench. But I don't know about the politics side of it, if there's something else going on with the team or not, and that's why Paul left, or what the story is there. But I do think that they probably wouldn't regret it if they did it. I just don't think they're going to do it.
Dash, do you think that's going to happen? I haven't really seen any gestures from you to suggest what you're thinking one way or the other.
I'll go back to your first question. What was going on? What's still going on wrong, or a consistent problem for this team going into this? It's I think pretty consistently not being able to play 60 minutes. I still think they do poorly against teams with aggression. Philadelphia was clearly trying to play the body and figuring out something that has been done well by teams in recent games. And the third period's got to tighten up. And most of all, I think it's figuring out assignments after transition, giving up the puck and then not panicking and figuring out, what your assignment is, who you're supposed to be covering, who your man is, how to box them out, not create chaos and unexpected shots from your goalie. That's the number one issue for this team right now. Do I think Paul Coffey is going to come back to the bench? I believe the chance would be somewhere between 0 and -10. I don't know. I've talked to people close to hockey operations, and I've got a few degrees separation from Paul Coffey with a few friends, and there's 0 chance he doesn't want to come back. Tommy said something very similar on the hangout earlier this week as well.
Yeah, well, I think like going back to even when he first got hired, he wasn't too keen on becoming an assistant coach to start with. So I think now that he's got separation from it, I'd be pretty shocked if he wanted to go back to it once again. So what are your thoughts there, Lotzi?
I mean, Coffey has relationships with all these players, right? If they really need some encouragement to make some plays and a little ego boost about their abilities, they can give Paul a call, right? It's not like he's gone; he's just not on the bench anymore. So, like, I'm with these guys. I don't think he's coming back to the bench. I don't necessarily think it's a great idea. Advisor to the owner bench, just like pick a place and stay there.
Yeah.
As far as what's wrong with this team, though, and it's goal scoring, that's the biggest thing in my opinion. Prior to the Avalanche game, the 5-on-5 goaltending was pretty much exactly where it was last season. And then Saturday happened, and now we're near the bottom of the league, and everyone's really been fired up about it over the weekend. But that doesn't explain the drastic fall from the Oilers in the 5-on-5 goal share department, and it doesn't explain their inability to create expected goals 5-on-5. So I think the biggest issue, well, it's goal scoring, but we got to go deeper than that. Why are they having trouble scoring? I think it's breakouts and neutral zone play. Like, this team doesn't generate chances off the rush like it used to. And that starts with coming out of our own zone effectively. And I don't necessarily think it's even the defensemen. I think a lot of the times it's the wingers winning battles on the walls and hitting their centers with flight. Right? That it's a guy like Connor Brown winning a battle on the wall and hitting a guy like McDavid in stride, and then you got a 2-on-1. Like, that's where a lot of our odd man rushes come from. And Kev, thinking about that stretch play you're talking about, I was kind of looking back for some old pieces I did, and that play goes all the way back to Dave Tippett's era. Like, I did a piece from right before he got fired. I was actually at the last game that he coached, and I was taking some video from up in the stands. They were running that same thing. Strong side winger to the blue line. And then they had a lot of different action they could play off of that, whether it's that guy controls it and taps it to the middle to a guy streaking and it's an odd man rush all of a sudden, or it's that guy just being a decoy and they use the other side of the ice that's more open. It's like, I don't necessarily hate it. They're just not executing it very well right now.
It's a copycat league. And Paul Maurice figured out how to do this in the finals. And the others got to figure out a way to not just pass the puck to Connor and Leon and use their speed to break into the zone. I'm sorry, but when Connor said in the end of the finals that they kept trying to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that's what the reference is to. The rest of the playbook's out there. The league, as long as you've got some defensemen that can defend with speed or defend with their feet is the key term out there, it seems to really be able to neutralize the way that this team goes through the neutral zone. And you're absolutely right, Lotzi. It is a big problem of theirs, and they're trying to play a system with this sustained zone coverage or sustained zone possession, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it worked well tonight. I'd say in the first period or two periods, they did an absolutely awesome job of having that extended zone time in Philly's end. And, over time it wore them down, and I think that showed and it helped. But
a lot of it is, there's lots of people talking about how we can't get to the middle of the ice, and that's very true. But that's hockey, right? Like think about how any defensive structure and any defensive players thought keep everything out of the middle, keep it to the outside, right? So really, the game is won and lost along the walls, and who can win that battle on the walls and get to the middle first, right? We haven't been winning that battle often enough.
You brilliantly connected the dots for me. Like ultimately, that's what I'm trying to say is that how do you get that sustained offensive zone pressure if you can't get it through the neutral zone in the first place?
There's
Yeah,
that.
like Patrick and I went to the Rangers game, and we were sitting right behind the Rangers net. Right, we had a great view of what was happening, which wasn't a whole hell of a lot that game because the Rangers had the neutral zone pretty plugged up, and like it was a simple 1-2-2. But I noticed they're all five of them were inside the face-off dots. Right, there was no room to move in the middle of the ice. And the Oilers moved up. Like it was very disconnected. It was sloppy. You'd have two guys skating beside each other at a mock turtle. Right, they're going super slow, and it's just no flow, no speed, no rhythm, no nothing.
I know Kevin wants to say something, but I think that this kind of lends to what I said in our private chat tonight. You guys, is that this is what I like the most about Roslovic, is that he doesn't defer to Leon.
Mm-hmm.
He can drive his own plays and drive his own offense. Kev?
And I'm going to extend that by saying now McDavid has one of those with Savoy, because Savoy has proven even tonight that he can make space and find space for himself and move the puck if he's encouraged to. I've heard McDavid encouraging him through the on-ice mics a bunch of times, and when he goes with it and he trusts his hockey brain, he ends up making clever plays. Roslovic changes that strategy again for Draisaitl, because now there's two of them that can go through the neutral zone and enter. So they just need to figure this out progressively down the lineup. And you're not going to have four lines of guys that can carry it through the neutral zone, right? Like there is going to be some dump and chase hockey, but if you're harder on those bodies in your bottom six, that's sort of the risk you take, right? But you don't want to be playing that kind of hockey with all 12 of your roster. It's really hard on and over the season.
The other thing I liked about Savio and McDavid's line there is like he was keeping the puck alive for Connor. There's one play in particular, like he appeared out of nowhere like a flash, and he tied up the Flyers guy's stick, and McDavid got the puck, and the offensive zone possession continued. Right, so like the little guy Savvy went in the battle near the boards, and the Oilers come away with the puck and more sustained ozone time. So it's little things like that. And then Savvy also made the play in overtime. Like it kept the puck alive in the neutral zone out on a broken play, and suddenly it's a 2-on-1. Game over.
I'm going to change his nickname to Crowbar, boys. I'm serious, because he's a crowbar with skates. You send him into the corner after a puck, he comes out with it. It's not like, and in an absolutely tilted way, I would say it's like 80-20. It's his forechecking ability is insane.
He's our new CC. Captain
He's got the hands.
Yeah.
He's got the hands to go with it too,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Like,
well, that's one of the reasons why, right? Like,
I'd argue Savoy's been our third or fourth best forward all season. All season.
I don't know if I would go that far, but it's definitely
who's
on the upswing.
Connor, Leon, who's better than who else?
Nuge.
Yep,
that's my
Podkolzin, Roslovic.
Yeah, Roslovic, and
Roslovic doesn't kill penalties.
So I don't know. Neither does Noah Philp.
Well, but I'm just saying that when you rank the importance to the team, Savoy's maybe 4 for me, you guys.
I think he's next year. I'll agree with you. Right now, I've loved Savvy's game. Like I've been singing his praises all year long.
Basically,
his defensive details are like his defensive details are there, right? Mm-hmm. Like the finer points of the game are there for like the stuff that coaches have a tough time teaching young guys. It's there with Savvy. He just needs to start putting the puck in the net, and he's had chances. He's gonna go for him.
He's the new.
He had a half individual expected goal last game.
Bang.
Like just himself. He's just snake bitten. That PDO is going to regress, and it's going to be fine. Like, he's in the right places. He's doing the right things. He's just had some tough luck, and I think he's got the smarts to play in this league in the top 6 for a long time.
He's the next Nuge. He'll gallivant as driving a third line, or he can jump to the top line, or he can play second line wing, or he can play center, or he can kill some penalties, or he can filter the power play. Like it's hard to believe. We've been singing Nuge's praise for how quietly important he is to this team.
He's been really good this year too, up until he got hurt.
Yeah, for a long ass time, and this year especially. So, yeah, I like what I see out of the kid.
I don't know. That Savoy, he doesn't sound like he sounds like he's in way over his head there. I don't know if he should be up there. I don't know, now with all that struggle he's having.
The Rundown with Mark Spector.
Oh, don't even. Come on. You don't associate that
You
name with
started it. You started it.
I mean, maybe it's not highly respected, but it's not that low.
There you go.
All right. So we don't have an
Gentlemen,
intro.
we're going to rise above here. Come on,
Okay.
please.
It's late. Come on. All right. So let's switch over. We don't have an intro video for this one, but we'll work on that for next episode for you guys. This week on heavy hockey. So I'll kind of turn this over to our resident primary writer here, Lotzi. He's got 2 of the 3 articles from this week. The Oilers struggling 5-on-5 and the measures of appeasement. Do you want to go over those articles, Lotzi, and kind of share the key points that you were trying to get across there?
Yeah, let me start with the 5-on-5 struggles one, because we've kind of just really been talking about it. I kind of went through each phase of the game, and I'm going to give Kevin's article a shout out as well here. Kevin wrote his debut article for the Heavy Hockey Network this weekend. Who are the 25-26 Oilers? He kind of broke things down from every aspect, every position: offense, defense, goaltending, coaching, management. I didn't go that far, but I stole a similar format, so sorry about that, Kev. I went offense, defense, goaltending, and those are kind of the 3 areas that I looked at, 5-on-5. I noted that the scoring dip that the Oilers have had this year has been crazy, like absolutely crazy. Last year, they scored 168 5-on-5 goals, which was tied for 13th. And that was even a big dip from the 193 that they got in 23-24, which was 3rd in the league. So last year they went from 3rd to 13th. This year so far, and this was after Saturday's game, they were tied for 24th in the NHL. It's been a precipitous drop off in goal scoring. And the biggest concern, though, their expected goals for: 1st in 23-24, 2nd in 24-25. This season, after Saturday, 20th. Right? So last season, when the boys were struggling to score at the start of the season, the underlying numbers were still good. So life was fine. We knew we were going to get over the hump. This year, oof. We got no evidence to suggest it's going to go boom and things are going to suddenly get better. So hopefully Hyman coming back helps that, and some development from a guy like Savoy helps. But this team this forward group is just not as strong as it has been the last couple of years, and I think we need to accept that. That's the way it is right now. And the other highlight from that piece was the goaltending piece. Obviously, it's not where we want it to be, but I broke down. I looked at Skinner's numbers and I looked at Pickard's numbers. We kind of touched on it already. Pickard's taken a huge step back. If there's a way to upgrade the goaltending right now, it would be moving on from Pickard and finding somebody else to fill his role as the backup. And you stay with Skinner, even if it's as a 1A, 1B situation, or in an ideal world, Skinner becomes your backup. And like I say, the cap situation's tough. We went over some of the options that are out there already, and I don't need to rehash them here. But looking at one of those AHL guys or trying to find a way to make a guy like a Soderblom work would be the fix to that. But seriously, scoring offense, I think that's the big issue with this team 5-on-5. And then the other piece was measures of appeasement, and this was specifically about Monday's game. So there were 2 things that kind of irked me that I viewed as measures of appeasement after the media narratives that came out over the weekend. One was Spector kind of targeting Frederick's play so far this season, and I don't think the guy's been all that good either, but I don't like coaches throwing guys under the bus. And Spector kind of put Knobloch in a position where he had no other choice but to throw Frederic under the bus. And so Frederic got thrown under the bus. And so not only did Frederic face it from Knobloch in that interview, he also faced that line of questioning from the media after the game on Saturday. So I think he went into that game on Monday knowing he had to do something. And what did he do? He went after Matthew Olivier first shift of the game. Now, don't get me wrong here. He deserves some respect because Matthew Olivier is an absolute beast, and that's just asking to get your butt kicked. But it felt a little disingenuous because I knew, yeah, and he did. But it felt disingenuous to me just because he felt pressure from the outside to do something. It didn't come at a time in the game where the team needed to lift. It wasn't late in the game or in the second period where things were going off the rails a little bit and we needed something. It was first shift of the game. He got it out of the way because he felt pressure from the outside. And then the other one was the Evan Bouchard benching, which I think Bush has needed a seat on the pine for a little while now because of all the turnovers that he's been committing and all the crazy chances against and goals against that have come from those turnovers. That is the issue that needs fixing. But when did Bouchard get benched? It was after he took a really soft slashing penalty that is arguably not even a real call, in my opinion anyway. But the penalty was assessed. The Oilers were off to a decent start, and the Jackets go up 1-0 on that power play. Bouchard doesn't see the ice for the rest of the period. Just from like a teaching perspective, so the behavior that Knobloch was trying to correct by benching him after taking a penalty was taking bad penalties. But that's not Bouchard's issue. It's turnovers. So if you're going to fix the turnover issue by benching a guy, you got to do it after he makes a sloppy mistake that ends up in the back of your net.
It's just like your kids. If they're going to do something stupid, the punishment has to match or, be fitting to what they did wrong. Or if you're going to try and fix the core problem, then it has to be related.
It has to be related, and it also has to be immediate so that they understand this is what you did wrong. Now this is the punishment you're getting for that. Fix it.
So not to be that guy, but somebody educated me after the fact that it wasn't the slash that they showed on the broadcast. So we're going to take a detour here for a second, but it wasn't the slash they showed on the broadcast. He gave him another couple of whacks after that, and that's what he got the penalty for. And then Buddy slashed him back, and it should have been an even up. But neither here nor there. The Amazon broadcast and the people responsible, like overall, the tech in the broadcast is really cool. The announcers and the overall covering and support staff are just not good on the Amazon games at all. It's really bad. I know, but it's really bad. When you're saying this was the penalty and being confidently incorrect, I'm not going to go and double check to make sure that the ref's arm went up at that second. I'm going to take their word for it that they vetted that that's what the ref's arm went up for it and not show something that happened 10 seconds previously. Because what happened 10 seconds previously was him hitting the stick and then the stick going on the ice and then nothing. He didn't hit him in the hands, didn't hit him. It was not a penalty in the NHL at any point of the season. And I think what he got it for was the even up. But it's still just get it right. It can't be this hard to have broadcasts that get it right.
Fair enough. But for me, it was Knobloch felt pressure to bench somebody because he faced that line of questioning from the media over the weekend. And he may have heard a little something from above his head too. I don't know. I have no information on that. It seems likely based on the line of questioning and what was happening in the Oilers world at that time. But again, it just felt disingenuous because there's outside pressure and he just took the first opportunity to bench him that he could. So that was where I was going with that piece.
Gonna test his ankle strength with anybody. It might as well be that guy.
Do you want to take us through the thoughts on your piece there, Kevin?
I just sort of was thinking about really what the state of this hockey team was and just the lack of identity. And I talked about how in previous seasons there had been every version of this team in the last 4 years has had an identity. It didn't matter if it was fast and aggressive and playing, 7, 8 goal games, 9 goal games, right? And in both directions, they outscored their mistakes more often than not, and they were basically going Mach 12 the whole time they were doing it. And then the next version of the team was the first generation, like Knobloch iteration, where we started being more defensively reliable, still scoring lots, but now I'm not sure what this team is. And the previous two versions, they had a few different ways that they could win hockey games, and that was even the more so in Woody's final year. It didn't matter; they could dictate how they could win hockey games to opposing teams. It didn't matter if it was fast or ground and pound or dump and chase or whatever you want. They could pick a way to win a hockey game and win a hockey game doing that. And I'm not sure that this team has that same capability. And I haven't seen them repeat any capability reliably enough to say, okay, well, we sort of know what this team is. And I get that we're still fairly early in the season, but it would be really nice to see some evidence of some kind of, not really personality, but identity coming out of this. And that was mostly what it was talking about and why that might be the case.
And the other article that we were looking at here is from Jeffrey Aid. He was talking about a possible goalie swap between the Buffalo Sabres and Edmonton Oilers. So we've talked about goaltending a bit. The goaltender that Jeffrey thinks the Oilers would probably focus in on is Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. And I want him just so I can say that name all the time because that's just awesome.
6K. 6K.
Yeah. And the Sabres obviously have a bit of a goaltending jam there. He was talking about possibly Nathaniel Day being part of their return going back to Buffalo in that one. What were you guys' thoughts be about Nathaniel Day being the key piece and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen possibly coming in from Buffalo?
Yeah, bye.
We'll start with you.
Nathaniel Day. Yeah, sorry, I just kind of stole the reins there, but I
Go
mean,
ahead.
if that's the deal, then yeah, sure, all day. Nathaniel Day has had a nice start to his professional career so far, but we still have Samuel Janssen, who's off to a better start in his young professional career here, and when the Oilers seem to draft a new goalie every year. Like we got Emil Vinny coming up in the pipeline systems. Like not all these goaltenders are going to make it. So if you can use one to get you a guy that's going to help you now, then fantastic. And I know Jeff Aid said there was going to be some other pieces involved in the deal. It's not
Yeah,
paid for UPL straight up, but I'd like to see that. Like I wouldn't. That's a guy I would not be upset about acquiring. I don't know if we're going to see that happening though, but there is a crease crowded situation in Buffalo. You got Alex Lyon, UPL. They got Colton Ellis, who they picked up on waivers from the Blues and have basically told to buy a house because he's staying. So they're comfortable carrying 3. And they still have Devin Levi cooking in the minors. So I can see something giving there at some point. What do you got,
Kevin?
Dash?
No, hands up, boy.
Okay, fine, Dash.
Ryan, you crazy. You crazy.
Uh-oh.
That's what I'm gonna say.
How the turns have tabled.
That's right. I do not think that. Hey, look. I'm okay with the theory of bringing in another goalie, some new blood, a 1A, 1B with Skinner, whatever. What does that other piece got to be if you're not trading Skinner out? And how do you fit that into the cap? So you've made that sacrifice, whatever that is. Then you also have to hope that for 4 more years, 5 more years, 4 more years, you're okay to pay $4.75 million for somebody that might be as good as Skinner. Do we want to be locked? Do we want to be locked into another Jack Campbell? Did you learn anything from Jack Campbell?
Yeah, we learned that was the wrong decision for sure.
Well, they're locking in a mediocre goalie that we don't know enough about that might just be as average as what we already have and locked in for 4 by 4 3/4, which completely handcuffs for getting the goalie we need. Run.
I mean, Jack Campbell
You
was,
crazy.
I want to say 30 about when we signed him. UPL's 26.
Don't care.
It's like UPL is kind of still at the nearing the end of his ascension towards his peak. Campbell was already there and nearing the end, clearly, when
Goalie's
we
peak
signed
No,
him.
there was I think non-public information available that should have told them that was a bad
Wow.
idea. And
And there was an injury
So
risk
go find all
there.
the non-public
Yeah.
information you need about 6K, because that's about 4.75K too much.
I'll say that UPL wouldn't be the first option I would go seek, just because I wouldn't want to pay the acquisition cost. Because I get that's a good point. Like it's not just going to be Nathaniel Day, as I said earlier. There's going to be other pieces going the other way as well.
Big
So
pieces.
like that part would scare me. It's like I would be more apt to go after a guy like a Dawes or a DiPietro or a Soderblom, as I've kind of been advocating for. But I like UPL a lot. I think in a better system, he's a guy that could flourish. We've seen signs of him flourishing even in Buffalo at times. Like there was a stretch, I think it was either last season or the season before, where he was one of the best goaltenders in the league. Like, yeah, it's the Connor Ingram story that a lot of people were excited about him for, because he was he isolated a specific amount of time and he was one of the best in the league for that time. And but this guy's only 26 and he's got an accomplished career as a starter so far. So that wouldn't be a bad outcome in my opinion. But
that's the story you need to come through is Connor Ingram. Like that's the strategy you need to deploy your next 1B, is to get him close to a league minimum as possible and then see what you got and go from there. I just don't think you can lock into a guess for 4 years at that dollar value.
My honest opinion is that you're probably right on that. Like I'd rather get a guy that's going to grow and evolve to the point where he can be the guy over the next 8 years for us, rather than take a chance on a guy whose best years are behind him. UPL is kind of the middle of that for me. Like he's a guy who's ready right now. And yeah, you don't know what's going to happen with a guy like that on a new team, new environment. But like everyone talking about Saros right now, like I'd much rather UPL than Saros. Like
I don't know though, really, Lotzi? Like, you're gonna go back to a 26-year-old goalie that has no playoff experience, no finals experience? Skinner's already at least played playoff games and knows how to win or lose a playoff game. Saros at least has that experience in the league and the muscle memory to know how to pull through in games. What does it say about the Oilers' goaltending if Skinner clearly hasn't been good enough, and then we're going to go and try and rely on another guy that has no experience?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, like I said, Nico Dawes and Michael DiPietro, those guys are both $812,500 each. They cost less money than Pickard. They were both available on waivers for free, and here we are. Like,
you know what we should?
Can we get Lyon from Buffalo?
No, there's no chance.
No, he's not going anywhere.
There's no chance.
You know what we should have done, though, is we should have drafted Jesper Wallstedt when we had the opportunity. That's what we should have done.
Or Sebastian Cossa.
Well, yeah. Let's
Cossa
not
was
get
gone before our pick anyway. Like we literally traded Wallstedt, right? We had the opportunity to pick him, and then the Wild picked him right when we traded that pick to them. And yes, it's got us Vasily Podkolzin, but we could have gotten Podkolzin with a different pick had it really come down to that, in my opinion. It's like that's what we should have done, but that's neither here nor there. But like I'm with you, Kevin. Like I like both of those guys. I'd rather be a guy whose best years are in front of him. It's like Dash, you're saying UPL doesn't have any playoff experience. Well, neither did Skinner before he got into the net.
Yeah, right. We still don't have any cups.
Right, and I've used this argument a lot. How many of the elite goaltenders in the league have cups? Vasi, Bobrovsky, that's it.
There only is 3, so that's pretty good. There's only 3. That's Sorokin.
It's a longer list than that, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's not a long list, But my point, like, you go back longer than that. Like Carey Price didn't have a cup. He got to the finals, didn't get it done. Right? It's just I don't know. Like I don't know that we need to go get Connor Hellebuck or Andre Vasilevsky. Right?
Dude, that's voodoo. It's
It's
honestly
voodoo. It is.
goalies are voodoo. You got to find your next Aiden Hill,
Goalies are
right?
also symptomatic.
right?
Find the guy that suits your system. Right now, the
Yeah.
Oilers have a systematic goalie, but they got a systematic goalie that doesn't suit their system. He doesn't do well against turnovers. He doesn't do well against odd man
Fine.
rushes. He doesn't do well side to side, and that's what the Oilers give up the most. We can go and find somebody just like Stu Skinner, has the exact same EA Sports rating, but has a different downfall or a different weakness that would suit our team's weakness better.
If
But
you
it doesn't
can
have
find
to have cup experience or playoff experience, though, right? He just needs to
exactly,
fit the system better.
he just needs to fit the system better. And if you find somebody that can deal with rush chances again and is truly elite at rush chances again, which is their kryptonite,
That's right.
then like with all due respect to Stu, and you know what, I say this having had a pretty good game, being a goal and a half saved above expected, and the same thing the other night. Like he is carrying his portion of the weight right now, no question. I would really like it to not have to second guess or third guess if every breakaway or 2-on-1 or whatever was going to end up in the back of the net or hit a post or hit the
That's right.
backsplash, right? Like that.
Yep.
That's the part that always kind of gives me hives about it. And I think that if we change that up, but I also like, guys, I don't want to spend too much more time on this. The goaltending has not been the root of their problem the past two games. I think they have offensive generation issues that they have to solve, and they can solve that in ways that don't involve Stuart Skinner.
Yeah. Yep. We need to get the next Tim Thomas or Dominic Hasek or Dwayne Rollison that can.
No, you find the next guy that's like ready to break out. You listen to somebody like Oil and Goal or Tyson Monroe or Kevin Woodley or whoever you want.
Woodley.
It doesn't matter. You listen to one of those guys and you say, that guy's going to break out next year, and you go and you get him.
Yeah.
And you get two more of them for good measure because they're usually always 700 or 800K and they cost nothing.
Yeah.
And then you make them have, Final Destination style bouts to get in net. This is Sparta, and you make three of them fight it out for the lead position
With a lion.
Yes, why not?
Find out who's fast.
Like, make it uncomfortable but comfortable at the same time.
Can we have this happen at the downtown community arena and just like fill the stands, or is this going to happen in the
No,
bowels of
you have to
Rogers
do it at
Place?
Rexall. Like, it has to be at
Yeah,
like,
Rexall.
Instead of Hunter, it's real Bobcats. They actually have to outskate real Bobcats.
yeah.
I guess Rexall's our version of the Coliseum in Rome. That's the closest thing we got.
Well, and it's got no seats in it, standing room only in there, right? Just get some lights going in there and a couple of stand-up speakers and let her rip.
Similar structural shape as the Coliseum in Rome, too.
Yeah. Either way, offense is where and breakouts are where they're getting killed, and that's what they need to solve next.
Yep.
Well, since it's getting pretty crazy in here, let's go to our next segment. Call me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we're calling you crazy a lot tonight.
You saw his crazy face in the video there? I'll hand it over to you, Dash, for our Call Me Crazy segment.
All right, fellas. I came up with this about 3 minutes ago, but I think it's a good one. Some or most of you know that I'm a Sasky. I grew up in a little small town called Wynyard, Saskatchewan. Played out some of my hockey there, and went to university in Regina. And somewhere about halfway in between, there's a town called Imperial, Saskatchewan. Yeah, happened to beat us out in the playoffs in Bantam in provincials when they teamed up with Simpson. And I was not a fan of Imperial Simpson until we started to find some people from Imperial, Saskatchewan on this Oilers franchise of ours, and there happens to be two of them for those of you that don't know. Calvin Pickard and Chuck, I do it all the time, sorry, Chris Knobloch. those two guys grew up in a town that have about a population of 350, and here they are on our team. Boys, call me crazy, but by the time the playoffs start, there will be nobody from Imperial, Saskatchewan on the Oilers franchise. Kevin?
Oh, you're just going to put me on the spot, huh?
Patrick?
That's brutal.
I'm going to call you crazy. One of them might be gone, but I think Chris Knobloch will still be here as coach. I know there was a lot of talk going up about that, and especially after that 9-1 game and through 40 minutes of that Edmonton Columbus game, we're started some talk it might happen that night. But I shouldn't use the 3-year extension as an excuse, because that's almost like a jinx as to why he might get fired. But I just think the Edmonton Oilers really need some stability here, and Chris Knobloch is a good head coach, and he's done a lot of things right with this team, and they definitely still have things to figure out. He's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I just don't see the Edmonton Oilers firing him. I will not be shocked if Calvin Pickard's gone and we have a different goaltender, but I think Chris Knobloch's going to stay, so I have to call you crazy on that one.
Yeah, the Oilers do have a good coach. Knobloch's a hell of a coach. Probably has the best winning percentage of any Oilers coach in history, which is what gets you fired.
He's just under Woody. He's
that's
just
right.
under Woody.
Well, the last guy that had the best record, he got canned too. You know what? He's such a good coach that he got us to the finals twice in a year, as Bob the goalie aptly pointed out to me in the chat today. He also is the coach that lost and got heavily outcoached in 2 straight finals. Knobloch actually has some real structure. I believe that. The forecheck is built around one forward driving pressure, 2 reading above the puck, and the defense kind of ready to step down the wall whenever the puck gets funneled through there. The neutral zone's a bit of a hybrid look. I get that. You know, it tightens into layers, and they want to force teams to dump in on them so that their defensemen can make those plays in transition and break out. I just do not think that he's putting the right people in place to execute that plan, or the management hasn't given him the right pieces to be able to execute that plan. I still think it's a problem. Knobloch wasn't Bowman's guy. Ryan, call me crazy.
I would love to, Dash. I'm calling you crazy on this one. First of all, and I've been thinking about this ever since you brought the question up, and as supersized Indiana Jones has pointed out in the chat, it's Connor Ingram that's from Imperial, not Calvin Pickard. I don't think that Ingram's going anywhere this season, and that means up to the NHL either. He's had a tough start to the year in Bago. And I just think he's too far behind the 8 ball to be up with the Oilers at any point. I don't think other teams are going to be lining up to trade for him. So I think he's playing this contract out in Baco, unfortunately. But I also think that Knobloch is staying. And a couple of reasons I'm going to say that. First is being that it's not like the previous GM hired Knobloch. Knobloch was Jackson's hire. Right. Bowman's in a sticky situation where it's the boss's guy that he's trying to get rid, that he would be getting rid of if he was to hire or fire Knobloch. And the other thing is, I think Bowman is smart enough to realize that this is a little bit of a transition year. I don't think he would have been so quick to bring in guys like Tomaszek and go and get a young guy like Howard, make room for Savoy, if he didn't realize that this is going to be a bit of a transition year. I don't think you let Connor Brown and Corey Perry walk. I don't think you trade Victor Arvidsson and Evander Kane unless you're willing to go into next season thinking that it might be 1 step forward to take 2 steps back the next season. Part of that is a cap issue. Like, if you add up Draisaitl and Bouchard's raises, it was $12.4 million. And the cap only went up by $7.5 million, right? Like, they shedded over $9 million with Kane and Arvidsson, and they're still tight to the cap just because of those 2 raises. So I think Bowman has enough realization that the roster is not as good as it was last year. So I think that buys Knobloch a little more time. That and the fact that Knobloch was his boss's hire. So I don't think Bowman's getting rid of Knobloch. So yes, I'm calling you crazy.
All right. Yeah, no, I apologize. Thanks, Uke. I definitely meant to say Connor Ingram, not Calvin Pickard. That said, this really is a conversation about Knobloch, and that was how I was trying to phrase it. Ultimately, I don't know. I'll go back to Uke or Supersized Indiana Jones in the chat, and Uke says there you'd have to need to go on an ungodly slide to get rid of Nobby. Dash, you crazy, and that's fine. Except I do kind of believe that ungodly slide might be coming. This isn't yesterday's Oilers. This is not a team that has shown any amount of identity or give a F whatsoever so far this year. And they're about to hit the hardest month this franchise has ever seen, the hardest road trip this franchise has ever seen. I believe that they may have an eye on another prize of the Olympics. I think the Olympics having a compressed schedule, the Olympics having potential injuries. I think the Olympics are potentially causing some of these superstars to take it a little bit easy in the early going this season. Just a lot of reasons point to a potential slide coming. Do I think it's going to happen? Yeah, I'm starting to believe it more and more. Kevin, back to you.
I'm not
crazy.
I'm not sure you're completely crazy.
Thank you.
It's really going to depend. If they can put together a good winning streak and prove that they're still playing for this coach and game over game for a while, I think his job is relatively safe. That said, I have some real issues with how he's deployed players this year. I have some real issues with strategy, not so much systems. I don't think the systems are that much of a mess. It's like 10% of the problem. It's more about deployment and lines and matching and whatever else, just general buy-in from guys. And we've seen this, and I guess why I'm so jaded about this is we've seen this cycle with the Oilers over and over and over and over again, coach after coach after coach. We get 24 months in, 36 months in, and then they just stop playing for the guy and become uncoachable, and they have to fire the coach and move on to the next one. Is this the year for that? Is next year the year for that? Who knows? We don't generally have coaches that are, like Tampa Bay's coach, where he's been there for bloody a decade, right? Like that just doesn't happen with us. So I guess when I made that comment the other day, I was very cognizant of the fact that the Oilers are a team that goes through coaches and have been as long as Connor McDavid and even before Connor McDavid was on this team, which is a pretty significant sample size. So if they turn it around, he's safe. He's got a winning percentage to go with all of that. That will keep him here. And again, to Lotzi's point about a transitional year, I think there is a little bit of evidence that might be the case. I still think they're going to take a serious run at it, but it might be not burning every chip that they have this season for a number of reasons. But if things don't improve and coach doesn't get on his good foot and really they start to show signs of not having buy-in, then I don't think they'll hesitate to make a change if they feel like that's the right move.
When you brought up Cooper in Tampa Bay there, Kevin, I just want to point out that they lost in the Cup Finals in 2015. Next season, they lose in the conference finals.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 16-17, they didn't make the playoffs. And they still kept him around. And then 2 years later, they got swept by the Jackets after winning the President's Trophy. They still kept them around.
John Cooper's relationship, and yes, I agree with you. There is absolutely, the Oilers have been quick to fire coaches before that they should have just let figure it out. I do think Woodcroft makes that list. I don't think guys like Dave Tippett make that list. He had clearly lost the room. It was clearly time for a change.
John Cooper and Paul Maurice have players that listen to structure, that listen to the coach, that fall in line. And like Barkov's not in a coach's office saying, I got to play with Reinhardt. There's an issue with the fact that coaches are listening to two superstars on our team's advice too much.
I don't know for certain that that's happening. I know we've talked about this privately a little bit. I don't know for certain it's happened. It's hard to look at the repeating
Like-
systems issues that the Oilers have had across 4 different coaches now and not draw some conclusions from the fact that it always seems to be the same things with specific players being put together and who we keep around and who we don't keep around. And
Knobloch stated it publicly at the beginning of the year that those guys requested to play together.
Yeah, and I think that to an extent you're right that there needs to be a little bit more force applied by the coach at times.
Yeah,
I just thought
wants Yamo, or sorry, Dry wants Yamo, Dry wants Podkolzin, Dry wants, I don't know, let the coach pick the lines and
I like
drive
the
accountability.
current iteration of that line because they have a guy
Sure,
that can pop the
sure.
puck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of principle, though, like Cooper and
Yeah.
Maurice have accountability with their players because they coach.
Yeah, and I don't think that you would see if Chris Knobloch got fired tomorrow, you would see a bunch of people calling for guys like Tortorella or
Yeah.
Quenneville or
Not
a few of
Tortorella,
the
but
heavy
I like that. Yeah.
the heavy justice guys, and I
Mhm.
just don't see the team hiring somebody like that. So if they're not going to hire somebody like that,
Wow.
you have arguably a top 5 coach in the league coaching this team right now.
Well,
So if you're not going to hire that heavy-handed guy, why would you make a change unless things were really, the building is on fire. Do you know what I mean?
well, yeah, and the elephant in the room and the heavy-handed reality is that you've got to keep Connor McDavid happy. You know, bring in a Tortorella-like coach to whip him and yell at him. I mean, he better win 2 cups if he's going to want to extend. So,
Yeah, I just Knobloch is in a precarious situation, and it could go either way.
Yeah.
And as long as things level out and they start putting some wins together, he'll be fine. But if they don't manage to find their groove as whatever this new version of the Oilers is and build themselves an identity and execute on that game and make it feel like they're actually not like struggling to win every game, then I think there's a non-zero chance they'll make a change. So we'll see how it plays out.
My final thoughts on that is I believe Knobloch was he's a great coach. I'm not taking anything away from him. All due respect. I also believe that there's an element of reality to the fact that he was handed the keys to a Mercedes-Benz. And here you go. This team's bound for the finals, really, even if Lotzie was coaching them. They were probably going to get there. And they're probably going to get there the year after because that's just the team they had. They had the depth. Kevin talked about it again last weekend and again on Low Tide or actually somebody else mentioned it last week about how wonderful. I don't know. You guys remind me. Who said that it was so wonderful back in the day when the Oilers just used to get to pick how they wanted to win a game?
That was probably me.
Yeah, that sounds like a Kevin quote.
Yeah, no, they determined how they wanted to win games, right? Like,
yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys call me crazy.
Well, that's the car that he got the keys handed to. That's it, right there. And then that car gets worse, and he gets a weaker team and less depth, and all of a sudden has to apply a square peg to a round hole because he doesn't have the right players for the system he wants to play. And then you got these 6 new forwards and a couple new D, and still don't have good goaltending, and still need help on defense, and 3 guys that have no NHL experience, and all of that's going to take time to catch up. How much time does he have until all that catches up? Like, you're right, Kevin, all that needs to come together. But the reason I cut you off and said quickly is because if that doesn't come together by the end of this year, we're probably looking at a new coach. If it doesn't happen by the playoffs, we might be looking at a new coach. And I don't think they can do it in that amount of time. I don't.
I think the big thing is the roster, in all honesty. Like, as part in my 5-on-5 piece that I did, I looked at 5-on-5 goals for, and they're ranking the league. And I broke it down to a per game average because Woodcroft and Knobloch have coached different amounts of games. But I did a little comparison between Woodcroft and Knobloch and how their team scored versus how much they were expected to score. And the numbers revealed that Knobloch's teams have actually been better at creating scoring chances 5-on-5. But Knobloch's teams have a little bit higher actual goals for per game. And that Knobloch's numbers are even including this season. So
Trending down.
It's
think-
trending down, but I think that's more roster related than coach related.
Yeah, sure, Lotzie. I totally agree. And who pays for that with a new GM that didn't hire this coach?
Generally the coach, but I'll go back to what I said before. I think the reality I think the reality of the situation with Bouchard's and Draisaitl's extensions and the cap jump not nearly matching the value of those two extensions, the vets they had to trade away to become cap compliant. I think the leash is a little longer because of all of those realities.
Yep, fair.
And I think that might be the case. I do think that Woodcroft got shanked. I think that team would have recovered and they would have probably made it just as far.
Absolutely.
They would have.
The previous year was the best version of the most exciting to watch. Anyways, the previous year where Woodcroft took them pretty deep was the best version of the Oilers.
The optimal window closed, and we ran into a Panthers juggernaut.
I don't think we're done yet.
Peak window.
Peak maybe, but I think it may not be this year, but give it another 12 months, and I think we're right back there. I think there's maybe a small retool that needs to happen when we have that extra $30 million in cap this summer, a few things like that. But I guess going back to 2 years ago, that team could bully other teams. It wasn't even like picking a way to win. They could decisively just pound the shit out of whoever they wanted to. And they did it multiple games in a row, multiple times. And yes, they had their losing streaks in there, but that team was exceptional at finding a way to win when games seemed hopeless. And, kudos to the last two games. They've definitely cashed in some chits with the hockey gods, but that's not a sustainable winning strategy that's going to bring them a cup. And if it is, then I mean, I don't know what to say, but this team still needs a little bit more firepower, or guys that are, actually showing up in the firepower department. And frankly, they need a backup. And I think that those things and some defensive system changes will be what propels the team forward.
Bob asked me if any coach has ever been fired the season after his team reached the Cup Finals for 2 consecutive years, and the answer is yes, Daryl Sutter.
I'm sure that's actually not the only answer.
Well, yeah, it might not be, but on recent memory that I can come up with, I know that he got maybe 3 finals with the Kings.
This is still a show me what have you done recently for me industry, man. Like,
and if the players give up on a coach, like Daryl Sutter happened to him, not much you can do.
Well, and Woodcroft was the same thing, right? That was an opportunity for the team, for Jackson to get in his guy, and the argument to be made was that they should have gotten rid of Dave Manson and hired Paul Coffey to be the defensive coach. Or, you know what? Even still, you hire Chris Knobloch to be your defensive coach. But you cannot tell me that Woodcroft didn't have better offensive systems in a lot of ways. And I know the league has adapted a lot to what the Oilers became, and a lot of modern, like the last 2 years, defense is based on countering teams like the Oilers. But I do think that there was some system stuff that was a little bit more offensively focused a couple of years ago.
Well, there were a couple other reasons Woodcroft got fired, and we know the systematic changes he made. He went to that box plus one idea that the players were just getting confused about in the D zone, but they weren't even really struggling there. Like the finishing went away. The underlying numbers were all good. It probably would have recovered, but the other one was accountability. And Holland said it in the press conference where he hired Knobloch, or where they were announcing the Knobloch hiring, was that he talked to Woodcroft about holding Evan Bouchard accountable, but he just wouldn't do it because they needed Bouch to help come back in games after they fell behind, right? Because he's their best offensive defenseman. And like Holland literally said that in the press conference, that he used the words, ultimately he didn't do it. So I think that little insubordination, if you want to call it that, I think that played a huge role in why Woodcroft was ultimately let go. And I think the systematic changes he made after losing to Vegas in round 2, they got beat by his own defense, so Woodcroft tried to go to a zone defense and it didn't work. And so issues they were having. They also went to that 1-1-3 system in the neutral zone, which it was a open freeway for teams through our neutral zone. It's like there were lots of things that Woodcroft did wrong in the first part of that season. I think he just overthought it, in all honesty. If then you just come back at it the same way and the same roster, I think they would have pushed it just as hard. Because what did Knobloch do when he came here, right? He went back to the 1-2-2 neutral zone system. He made a little tweak to the zone D system and prioritized slot coverage. That got a lot better. And then suddenly the PK started to get a little bit better as time wore on, right? And so the team started winning some games. The goal scoring recovered, right?
The key thing you said there is the key thing, and it actually ties two topics together because I feel like you're helping me prove my point again, Lotzi. Accountability is the key word you said there. Tippett was let go because he couldn't stop going to the flipping nuclear option and ultimately couldn't get players to have roles or identities, in which case now there's no accountability because you're just always relying on your stars. So they hired Woodcroft. What did Woodcroft come in and do? Hey, let me give all these people some roles and accountability. And Derek Ryan famously was interviewed and said, this is just such a great culture now because we all have a role and we all know what our role is. And then what did Woody do? Went back to the nuclear option. And then Knobloch came in and, oh my goodness, we got all this accountability again because we, oh wait, no, we don't. What's the pattern?
The nuclear option, but I've done so much work into looking into the performance and the effectiveness of the team when they deploy the nuclear option versus when they don't. And
do you want to meet them, guys?
Literally 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Right? There's times when it's actually better to put them together.
Statistically, maybe, but not when you need to gel a team. Not when you got to get other guys going. Not when you need 18 players to be tugging the rope in the exact same direction. You got 5 guys not tugging a rope in that option, and all those coaches end up listening to the superstars. Put us together. All right. Well, you're going back. I don't want to piss Connor off because he might leave, so he's got to put him back there again. Maurice Cooper drove accountability because they coached. There's a pattern. Everything you said about the systems, Lotzi, everything you said about the systems, great. Maybe that's what caused the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows. But the consistent thing has been that none of them can drive accountability or find an identity for the rest of the players. That's what's still affecting 60 minutes. It's still affecting consistency. It's still affecting chemistry. It's still affecting...
The accountability thing is huge because in a lot of other years, the roster just hasn't been deep enough, right? You're down in a game. You need your best players, right? But a lot of the times, the Oilers, I mean, with Bouchard specifically, it is the best players that are kind of causing some issues. But putting them together, most teams are putting their best 2 players together. Let's be real, right? How many teams have the luxury that the Oilers have to be able to split them up and have 2 scoring lines sometimes? Mm-hmm. But I would actually argue that putting them together gives other guys more of an opportunity, right? Because if you split them up, they're each getting 17, 18 minutes a night at 5-on-5 hockey. That's 36 minutes a night right there where other players can't really be on the ice. You put them together, they're only out there for 17, 18 minutes. So that opens up 17, 18 minutes for other guys, right? Ultimately, though, the coach is going to play the top line and the second line more often than they play the bottom six lines, right? So I don't care what order you arrange those top six forwards in, those top six are going to get more ice time than the bottom guys. That's just the way that it is. And the reality of Oilers rosters with Connor and Leon on them is they're top heavy because they make a lot of money. So you have to round out the roster with cheaper players, and those players don't usually merit getting more ice time. So we get the narrative that it's all Connor and Leon, right? So the last couple of years we've actually had better depth, and that's a big reason why we've gone as far as we have. But guess what? You get to the final and depth scoring becomes an issue. So until that happens, we're not going to get past the cup final stage, right? We aren't going to lift the silver thing over our heads. But next season, when we start getting some cap space, as Kevin alluded to, right? Give this thing another 12 months. Our core is already in place. There's no more massive raises coming.
Yep.
We still have lots of money left over, even with the extensions we've signed this year. We're just adding to what we already have next summer.
Yep.
So, look out.
This team is going to, assuming they can stay healthy, this team is going to be a monster next year. I know $30 million will go fast, but that gets you a goalie and it gets you options for maybe rearranging your defense just a little bit, or hiring some more shooting wingers or whatever, right? Like it gives you options.
Shed a couple of no movement clauses.
Yeah, and that's kind of indirectly what I was trying to say. And, depending on the contract value of those NMCs, or and a couple of NMCs are expiring too. So maybe we can be a little more judicial with who we give those out to in the future. Because this really has hurt the flexibility. What's Roslovic going to get? Roslovic's probably going to get $5 million, I would say, or $4.5 million. No, we only gave him a 1x1, I think, or 1x1 and change. And
it's 1x1 point. It's 1.5 that he's getting.
Is it 1.5?
Though? No? Oh, okay.
No.
It's 1 year deal.
And for Roslovic, no offense.
Well, what's the answer? $5 million by 8.
No.
What they just did it for Freddie.
What a mistake. Anyway, that's another conversation.
The right answer for him is short term for decent money. And the reason that's the right answer is that will keep him defensively accountable, is how I feel about that. I think he's an excellent fit with this roster and with this team. And I think he plays the right play style to play with Connor and Leon, which I think is important. But I think the accountability is also important. And you do that with guys like Roslovic. And you know what? Even to an extent, guys like Matthias Janmark, by keeping them hungry. And that's no slight on Janmark. He's actually been pretty good since he's been back. But I do think that keeping certain guys hungry is good for the team, even if it's riskier that you might lose them in free agency.
Yep.
Well, we're reaching the 90-minute mark here, guys. So why don't we do our final thoughts for the evening? We'll start with you, Dash.
Oh, come back to me.
Okay, we'll go to Lotzi then.
Come back. No, I'm just kidding.
Damn it, Lotzi.
I mean, we got a lot of content out there tonight. It was a fun conversation. But this road trip here, I mean, Dash alluded to this being kind of make or break. This is a tough slog in the next little bit here. It'll be close to American Thanksgiving by the time we come out of this, and that's usually kind of a good landmark for how the season's going to finish. But that win tonight was huge. Like that, this was one of the gettable games on this trip, and they needed it. And thankfully, they were able to pull it out. I mean, we got Columbus tomorrow. We got Carolina Saturday. There's Buffalo on this trip. It's like Buffalo's another one you got to get. I think you got to get Columbus as well. But even if you go into Carolina, Washington, Tampa, Florida, and lose all 4, if you can get the other 3, I think we'll still be all right. So there's signs of this engine starting to turn over. There's some things happening, but we got to get through this next 11 days here. So I'll be watching closely to see how we fare in the next 11 days.
You ready there, Dash?
Yeah, Kevin or Dash, doesn't matter.
We'll
Want me to go, Kev?
I'll go for it.
I think one of the biggest problems that Coach Knobloch has potentially had throughout his career and is still kind of showing itself is it's a bit of it's either a lack of patience or it's the fact that he trusts his own gut so much more than he trusts his players' ability to execute, that it keeps causing him to going back to not being able to stick to a plan. I feel like he's always got a plan and he's always, got a great strategy. And then as soon as we get scored on, boom, panic button, blender. Well, this guy's going and this guy's going and let's get this. I really like it. He's good at it. He's good at it. But I'm not sure it's doing the team the favor it needs. And I really think that when they start to kind of stick to a system and let these mistakes work themselves out and let it kind of just work itself out. I think you gotta keep going through the motions and until you just know what the motions are instinctively and the muscle memory is there. And in order to do that, you can't hit the button blender or the button on the blender and the panic button all the time. So I'd like to really see them moving forward and get through this road trip. I wrote an article on it. November might be hell. It might define the season, but it also might gel them. What this team has always done is fight when their backs are up against the wall, and that's what this road trip presents. So they're either going to get their shit together and gel and come out of this thing like monsters, or they're probably going to go through a reset year, in which case they come back next year a lot better and probably start being a monster thereafter. It won't be just when they win at a cup, it might be how many. Kev?
I think that's an important point, but the other thing is that the reason that it's so important that they get something done on this road trip is they are notoriously poor after starting up from break, and they have a little break in Christmas, but they have a huge one for the Olympics, and some of the guys are going to be going hard, but everybody else is going to be sitting on ice for 3 weeks. So they have not in the past have not come out of long breaks like that looking like a cohesive unit, and it's taken them quite a few games to get going. So they need to have some points in the bank in order to make a good run at it. And I guess I don't want to seem like our podcast is super negative because they won the last 2 games, right? But there is
negative. I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
Trying to be real.
I think every one of us is being real about it to an extent, that there are concerns. I think that it's all about adjusting expectations. This is a lot harder year for them, and it's their 3rd year now where they've been to the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years in a row. They've had less than 90 days of break between the end of the previous season and the start of the new season for 2 years in a row, and these guys are just going to be a bit gassed. Other teams are having 16 weeks of break, right? Like it's kind of a big deal. So I am not going to all of a sudden not be a fan of the Edmonton Oilers if things don't work out this year. I think we need to support these guys. They've done well getting to the Stanley Cup Finals. That's an immeasurable achievement, contrary to a lot of the narratives that are out there. Getting to the Stanley Cup Final on its face is an achievement. It's an extremely hard cup to win, arguably the hardest trophy in sports. And I think that if we respect and love this team as much as we say we do as fans, that will, if they can get back and get it done this year or almost get it done this year, that's great. But if it ends up falling a little short, I think they've earned the opportunity for a breather too. And if we go in with that expectation, then if things work out, everything's going to be so much the better.
Yeah, I loved your points there, Kev. Just going into tomorrow night, I know we've talked a bit about Stuart Skinner, and I think the last couple of games have been a bit of a rebound for him. So I'm going to be really interested to see how Calvin Pickard looks tomorrow night. I assume he's going to get the start with the back-to-back here. If he can come back with a strong game, I think that'll really help the narrative around him. But if he also struggles again, that might continue something there. So that's definitely something I'm going to be watching. We know we got a big fan of Calvin Pickard that watches the show here in Russ Jericho. So I'm cheering for Calvin there, Russ. Hope he can come in and have a strong game tomorrow night and get some of that negative talk around him at least at bay, at least for a while. So we'll see what happens there. But just want to say thank you to everybody in the chat. Great job tonight, gentlemen. I really liked the conversation. I think it was a fantastic episode here for episode 2 of the Heavy Hockey Podcast. So on behalf of the 3 gentlemen you see before you, thank you very much for joining us tonight. You've been watching the Heavy Hockey Podcast, episode 2. Thank you for being a fan. Great night, everybody.